Okay, welcome everyone to this webinar, and thank you for being here. I really know your time is valuable, so I'm going to really make sure I give you some valuable information, and I really hope to change your perspective on what eczema is, and to give you new hope and really understand that you have the power to heal your eczema from the inside out, and it's something that's kind of not known among the medical industry. So I really hope to get some good, valuable information for you. Okay. So my goal, when you stay until the end, is to help you bridge the gap. So I want you to leave the end of this understanding that there is a gap in the medical industry, and there's a reason why, if you've been suffering from eczema for quite some time, all you're shown is these solutions, or quote unquote solutions, that seem to work immediately or very, very quickly. But then what happens? The eczema comes back, and then it's the same treatment, then it comes back again, same treatment, and it comes back again. And I'd really like to help you bridge that gap and give you an understanding of why there is this gap, and help you get to the other side to really show you that you have the power really to get rid of the eczema and heal it from the inside out. Heal your skin from within is something I often talk about. And I really want you to know that your body's ability to heal is actually greater than anyone has allowed you to believe. That's I've stolen that quote. It's actually it's one I found. It just kind of really jumped out at me, and the actual quote online is "permitted you to believe." I didn't like that grammar, so and no one claimed it, so I've changed the permitted to allowed, and I've said it's mine. But it really is so true. Your body's ability to heal is really greater than anyone has allowed you to believe. And I'm on this personal mission to help people heal themselves from the inside out. Not just eczema, actually, but I'm obviously going to focus this just on eczema because of my own personal journey. But really, I'm helping people with a number of different things. So when you stay until the end, you're going to have some action steps to apply straight away, and you will know how to, you'll leave with a different perspective. And again, you'll have a few little tools to implement straight away to help you get results. So what makes this different? I'll quickly introduce who I am. I'm Neil Cannon. I'm a best-selling author, health coach, and speaker. I created an award-winning health program. I'm a certified fitness nutrition specialist. More importantly for this is I'm a former eczema sufferer myself, or severe eczema sufferer. And I now help people to heal their bodies of eczema so they can stop going to the doctor asking for temporary solutions. So I've done a lot of things right, but really a lot of things wrong. This was me not so long ago, actually, a couple of years ago. And I realized that the creams work great in the short term, but what happens then? It just comes back again. Doctors are smart, but they were missing something. I knew this from quite a young age, actually. I was suffering from about the age of 5. I believe it was 5 when I started suffering. And more recently, 2 or 3 years ago, when I was in LA, I've been living in LA for about 4 years now, I was told by a muscle tester or kinesiologist that the result or the reason for my eczema was actually my vaccines. I don't know if you're familiar with kinesiology, but kinesiology is really asking the body yes and no questions, because the body keeps the score. And this may seem really out there if it's new to you, but there's really ways of asking the body to find out what it needs. And I was told that I shouldn't have had eczema, but it's the vaccine that triggered it. So there was a specific reason why I had eczema and my friends and family didn't. And I started getting curious in my mid-teens, really, that whenever I'd go to the doctor, I'd always be prescribed antibiotics, steroids, or moisturizers, or really in different order: steroid creams, moisturizers, and when it flared up badly, antibiotics. So I discovered this the hard way, and you get to cheat and get the easy way. This is the hard way. That is my wrist right now, and you might be able to see I've lost pigment on the skin. And this was relying on creams for short-term relief. And I'd only take action when the skin would break out. So I began to think this was hopeless, and I actually just resigned to having eczema for my life. I just thought it was something that I'd have to live with, and that was just it. Oh, 1 second. So, would you like the easy way that takes you straight to clearer skin? I'm guessing so, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So again, there's me on the left and there's me on the right. Also, well, not too far apart, these pictures. And you might be able to relate that when you're in the ocean and in the sun and stress-free, you might realize that you or your children's eczema gets much better. So there's many reasons for this. And what I do when I work with people is to really kind of try and model and mimic that environment in our everyday environment. So in the past 4 years, I've been mostly free of eczema, and I didn't find a magic cream or drug that solved it all. So this is actually a fairly recent picture, embarrassingly, and this is when I didn't listen to my own advice. It was about a year ago, and it was almost tempting fate because I put things in my body that my body quickly rejected, and I did that in my sleep, and then gone back to normal again. So I just want to say that this works very well when you apply it. But even I can actually not follow my own advice, and that can happen. So this won't work for everyone. I must say this little disclaimer. Depending on the severity of your eczema and your application of this material, results will vary. I cannot guarantee that you will have exactly the same results as I did. It would be irresponsible if I did. However, I do know, and I really hold firmly to the belief that your body is designed to heal, and it will heal when you give it what it needs and you take away what is harming it. So these are the 3 secrets I mentioned in the landing copy that you would have come across to help prevent and heal your skin from within. There's a spelling mistake there, sorry about that. Secret 1, eczema is just a symptom. It's not an illness. I don't like to think of it as an illness or a disease. And I don't like to think of it as a genetic condition either. And it doesn't matter if you've suffered from it your entire life, you can heal your own skin. So what is a symptom? So this guy on the left, I just loved his little, I love this little caricature. He's a messenger. A symptom is a messenger. Eczema and other illnesses are simply symptoms trying to tell you something. They're actually very powerful, and they're very intelligent, and the body is very intelligent. And the body is remarkably intelligent, in fact. When we listen to these symptoms and ask the body, not literally, but you may ask yourself questions as to why this symptom is showing up. If we forget the idea that it's an illness, we forget the idea that it's a disease, and we say, okay, there's a symptom of eczema here. I wonder what it's trying to tell me, or children, for example. So these are very powerful in emergencies. We all know this. They're very effective, and they do create relief without a shadow of doubt. And I've used them myself in the past, and they've got me out of trouble. They're brilliant in emergencies. And we have to applaud and be grateful to pharmaceutical companies for doing this. The only thing is they do not work in common illness or chronic disease. And I like to think of them as a Band-Aid solution. Band-Aid is an American term. Plaster, if you're in England. Band-Aid is basically saying, hey, I'm just going to cover this up very quickly and just pretend nothing's ever happened. And just kind of just ignore it. So it's like a temporary solution, basically. So the analogy or the pictures here represent how I consider going to a doctor for skin conditions. So your car breaks down, and then you take it to a paint specialist to give it a paint job, give it a spray. It's not actually looking at what's happened underneath to cause the outbreak. So secret 1, eczema is a symptom. It's nothing else. What do we tend to do? Well, I didn't pay attention to my diet for 30 odd years, just under, from about the age of 5. I did pay attention to my diet, but I didn't really know what I was doing wrong. that was causing the outbreaks. I did not listen to my body. I just thought it was this genetic disease. And there was one time when I was 29, about almost 10 years ago, when I walked into my office in London, and one of my best friends, still one of my best friends actually, she just looked at me and went, "Whoa, what's happened to your face?" And it was, she laughed at it, and we've laughed at it since. But at the time, I can honestly say it obviously hit a nerve. And I knew there was something I had to do about this, because even at that time, I was still using steroids, and it wasn't a good thing at all. So secret number 2 is understand its root cause and the relationship to the gut. So what is the root cause? If you've seen me on YouTube, you'll have seen me harp on about the root cause. And there's a lot of reasons for this root cause to present itself, shall we say. So again, I used these steroids for a long time. And by the way, steroid cream doesn't just leave pigmentation. It can also lead to topical steroid withdrawal syndrome, which is when your skin becomes so dependent on steroids that when you stop using them, your skin can become this giant flaky mess. This didn't actually happen with me, but it's happened to people who have approached me for my support. Antibiotics, while they appear to be working short term, actually harm the gut, because it actually harms the gut because the immune system is actually surrounding the gut. About 70 to 80% of the immune system surrounds the gut. And off-the-shelf creams often contain nasty ingredients like parabens, and whatever we put on our skin is soaked into the bloodstream. So we want to be very, very mindful about what we put on the skin. So what is the root cause? Coming back to the root cause. The root cause is inflammation. And the reason I came across this was actually by accident. I was researching my latest book, The Vitality Secret, because a few years prior to my father's stroke, I remember him being diagnosed with this condition called chronic inflammation. I remember exactly where I was standing when my dad told me this. We were in the kitchen in the family home, and he told me this as we were by the kettle making tea. And he told me he's got chronic inflammation, and it's the reason for his high blood pressure. And a few years later, he suffered a stroke. So I did all this research around this thing called chronic inflammation. I kept on seeing it in health books. I was seeing it in magazines. I was seeing it in, well, everywhere really. And I just thought, what is this whole thing all about? What does it really mean? And that's when I discovered that not only was it the root cause of his chronic inflammation, of his high blood pressure, which ultimately led to a stroke, it's also the root cause of his asthma, which is chronic inflammation of the bronchial tubes. The medical industry doesn't tell us that, does it? Steroids are very, very effective because they open up the airways, but they don't get to the root cause of why you have asthma in the first place. Anyway, I also discovered it's the root cause of eczema that I'd had for 3 decades. And it was like a brainwave. It was actually described as, eczema was described as an inflammatory disease. I personally don't like calling it a disease. I just call it a symptom of inflammation. So that is the root cause of eczema, and it is a result of a number of different things. So, here's just a little graphic showing you how it's the root cause of just about every skin condition that there is there. And it really is something that we can all heal very, very quickly when we understand what it is. So what is it? Well, in its simplest form, inflammation is your immune system's reaction to what it perceives as an attack on it. It's actually your immune system protecting you. It's your immune system protecting you from what is called, or what might be regarded as, foreign invaders, something alien that enters the body that the body doesn't recognize can trigger this inflammatory response. So it's a very healthy immune response. Inflammation is a very healthy immune response. If we didn't have it, we'd probably die. We would die. So we've got to be grateful for it. The only thing is that when this happens again and again and again and again and again, it triggers all sorts of different symptoms, really depending on your genetic code. And in your case, our case, it's eczema, and it's probably other things as well. But eczema is, interestingly, one of the very growing, what's the word? It's this symptomatic, no, that's not a good word, because that could be used in different ways. So the condition of eczema, or the symptom of eczema, is growing very quickly. And one of the reasons for this is because inflammation is getting worse, because as we consume more and more toxic things, it's triggering out more and more outbreaks. And your skin, by the way, is the largest organ on the body, and it's also the first indication of anything out of balance. So it really is the first indicator. So like it's the first messenger that your body is saying, hey, Neil, or whatever your name is, something is out of balance and requires your attention. Something's not quite something's out of balance. And there's a direct relationship with the health of your gut, with eczema and all skin conditions, and just about every chronic inflammatory health condition as well. So it's your immune system's reaction to what it perceives as an attack element. If you do not recognize an ingredient, your body won't either. I love this. A friend of mine sent it to me years ago when I was researching my book, actually, and I've kept it ever since. So it's very clear, this image, because we just need to become mindful about what we're putting in our bodies. And one way of doing this is just by really thinking about what is real and what is not. What is, there's lots of things in processed foods, for example, which contain these ingredients that you just have no idea. You can't even pronounce them sometimes, let alone know what they are. And there's a rule of thumb: if you don't recognize an ingredient, your body won't either, and that triggers inflammation. So we just need to become more mindful, because this is just food, by the way. There's other triggers as well, but we just need to be mindful, because if you just go through the supermarket or grocery store, wherever you are in the world, you can be fairly sure that the majority of what you find in the supermarket shelves has alien ingredients, so trans fats or artificial flavorings and preservatives. Or if you're consuming non-organic produce, for example, they might be covered in pesticides and herbicides, fungicides, insecticides. Anything that ends in "-ides" has the potential to trigger an inflammatory response in the body, in the gut. So what does your body not recognize? Well, there's the example I just gave, actually, of pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, all those kinds of things. Anything that ends in "-ides" is a chemical, and it has the potential to cause harm. It's an alien invader in the body. And there's just a graphic image, because I wanted to be clear here. When we feed children things that look healthy on supermarket shelves because they're presented so beautifully, we need to be mindful about where they've come from. And sadly, in today's world, the food supply is becoming, I hate using this word, but it's becoming toxic. And we need to just be mindful and really, really emphasize the idea of going organic as much as we can. Sometimes we can't, and that's fine. We just got to do the best with what we can. And you don't have to be a complete Nazi about this, unless it's, really bad. I say Nazi. I mean, what's the best way of saying it? You don't have to be so precise. Your body can put up with a certain amount. It's just that when it's overloaded with this kind of stuff, that's what leads to harm over a long period of time. So what else might your body not recognize? Well, this is a calf feeding on a cow's udder. And we have an interesting situation where we are being weaned off our mother's milk from our mother's breast, remembering to get the right mammal. And then we are often put on cow's milk, thinking we're told that it's strong for our bones and good for, that's the main selling point. It's good, lots of calcium in it. The thing is, it's really not designed for humans. And to make matters worse, the milk itself, or the cows, if you're in America, have been injected with hormones, like recombinant bovine growth hormone, which helps to fatten up the animals so they produce more beef and more milk. And then we often drink this expecting for us to be fine. And that's ignoring the fact that it's designed for baby cows to grow fast. Think of it like this. Human breast milk is specifically designed for baby human beings to grow fast. It gives them all the right nutrients, right micronutrients, macronutrients for baby human beings to grow fast, give them that massive boost in life. And it's amazingly healthy. And similarly for cows, the udder milk looks very different to a human breast. It's specifically designed for these baby calves to grow fast, which look nothing like humans. So I'm being a little bit sarcastic here, but I want to make fun of it. Am I a human or am I a baby cow? So this is a baby cow, and this is a human baby. That's a baby cow again. and that's a human baby. Really nothing, there's no similarities there at all. And this is a fully grown cow. Again, I don't show you a picture of a fully grown human. So the point I'm trying to make is, you'd be amazed at how many people can just clear up skin conditions just by taking out milk and then finding other forms of calcium. And there's tons. You can find them in vegetables, more bioavailable, nuts, etc. So the calcium is widespread in other sources. We don't have to get it from the milk. And some people can get benefits just by taking that one thing out, whether it's cow's milk or all dairy. I tend to be safe with butter, interestingly, because the casein's been taken out of it, which is the protein, and the lactose is gone, which is the sugar part. Just one more point about the cow thing, because this is very interesting. After we are weaned off our own mother's breast milk, it is a natural and normal process for us to lose the enzyme called lactase, which breaks down the lactose, which is the sugar found in milk. So it is a natural process. We lose that enzyme. This is why it's actually usual, it's normal for us not to be able to process milk. It's actually a perfectly normal thing because we're not baby cows. Or rather, we don't need the milk anymore. So we therefore don't have that enzyme anymore. And then we're led to believe that we need to be drinking cow's milk. But it's that we then get the lactose. And the figure is around 3/4 of the population is intolerant to cow's milk. And it's not surprisingly the case when we think about it like that, because we're designed to lose the enzyme. It's just really quite remarkable what's happened in our society in terms of conditioning us to think that we need to be drinking milk from this giant beast. So I would suggest, if you haven't done so already, to just take out cow's milk, preferably cheese as well, preferably all dairy. You might be okay with milk. Butter, see how you go. So really, we want to be taking care of our gut. Our gut, as I mentioned earlier, is where 70 to 80% of the immune system is located. And when we take antibiotics for skin conditions, whether it's eczema or psoriasis or dermatitis, acne, rosacea, whatever it is, we may think we're getting results very quickly because the symptoms disappear fast. The only thing is, every time we take one course of antibiotics, it can take the body a long time to repair. There's a company called Viome, which is all about balancing the gut. And they said that it can take the gut 1 year to repair from one course of antibiotics. So I would really emphasize looking elsewhere for ways to heal the gut. I'm going to quickly talk about the gut in terms of really layman's terms. In fact, I think I have an image here. So think of your gut lining like a drawbridge. This is, by the way, from Dr. Amy Myers, a phenomenal woman. Teeny tiny boats, micronutrients, these are vitamins and minerals and live enzymes that are meant to travel back and forth, are able to go under the bridge without a problem. This is like a semi-permeable membrane in your gut. But things such as gluten, gut infections, medications, I should really highlight that massively, or toxins can cause the drawbridge to go up, allowing bigger boats to cross over that aren't meant to travel through. What she's really describing here is leaky gut. So what can happen is these things, and she's mentioned gluten here, which is also in my video that you may have seen. Gluten can actually tear the gut lining. And what it does, and again, medications can do this as well, and it allows larger particles to pass through. So these toxins or pathogens or proteins and partially digested food particles can actually pass through and escape into the bloodstream when they're not meant to be able to get through. So what happens is it gets through to the bloodstream, and that triggers an inflammatory response immediately. And in the case of autoimmune diseases like psoriasis, which is, I consider it the next level of inflammation, this is when your immune system turns onto itself, and it's like the immune system starts to attack itself. Type 1 diabetes, for example, is when the immune system starts to attack the beta cells in the pancreas, and the pancreas stops producing insulin. That's besides the point. The point is, with psoriasis, which is a skin condition, this is the next level. And we need to be very mindful about what we put into our bodies, because We want to pay so much attention to our gut health. And the beautiful, amazing knowledge or piece of information to know is the gut heals incredibly fast, really fast. And we just need to give it what it needs to heal and take away what is harming it so we can have a nice, healthy gut again and allow the body to heal. Sadly, the use of antibiotics, the use of medications can actually cause harm. And that is why often, parents taking kids, and you used this example earlier, this happens again and again and again because each time a course of antibiotics is taken, the gut is weakened. And that's a very focal point of healing skin and again, any other chronic inflammatory health condition. I just want you to know the gut will repair fast when you give it what it needs. Secret 3 is, this is a huge thing. Know why you don't know about this root cause and take your power back. And I've been writing a lot in the last few days about this because I honestly think this is the biggest thing that we all must know in order to take full control of our own health and take our own power back. It may sound corny, but I really mean this. We have been conditioned on a monumental scale to, ever since birth, that if anything goes wrong with us, we go to the doctor and we expect to be fixed by a doctor. And it's kind of like we are handing over the power that we have to heal ourselves, because we are born healers. Every single one of us is a healer of our own body. The body is constantly healing. It's constantly wanting to be in a state of balance. And it is our birthright to heal. It's an innate capacity and ability that we have. The thing is, we have been so conditioned to give away this power that we have to heal ourselves. And what makes it even worse is we're giving it away to people who aren't actually trained to heal. And this is what we're going to see a huge shift in coming years, actually, because all of this history that I'm about to teach you is about to become exposed. So get ready. So just a quick reminder, I resolved having eczema all my life. I thought I didn't have the ability to get rid of it. I thought it was just genetics. I thought it was my curse. I had a friend still one of my really good friends, actually. He says, we all have our blessings, we have our curse. And he said, Neil, your eczema is your curse. Your blessings, your muscles, your eczema is your curse. That actually happened. I had no idea about epigenetics. This is your body's ability to override 95% of all genes, which can potentially turn into a disease, quote unquote, disease. I don't have time to talk about this now. You know what? I'm going to talk about it now. In 2005, the science of epigenetics was born. And the overriding factor is that we have about 22,000 genes in the body. And what is so interesting to know is that we have the power to control the expression of 95% of genes that may or may not turn into something like, quote unquote, disease, illness. In other words, and by the way, the way that we influence genes is the environment that we keep in our body. And by environment, I mean what we're eating, what we're exposed to, like environmental toxins, what we're drinking, how much we're moving our bodies and getting oxygen pumping around the body, taking care of the lymphatic system, the part of the immune system which gets rid of all the dead waste products, dead cancer cells and all that stuff. We need to, there's lots of different ways that we can keep a healthy environment in our body. And what epigenetics has found is that we are in pure power, complete power to influence 95% of these genes. So this means, on the flip side, and this is Deepak Chopra's words, there are only 5% of genes which are, quote unquote, fully penetrant. What that means is these are genes that we don't have the power to influence by the environment that we keep in our bodies. So we don't have the power to influence whether they are turned on, whether that gene is expressed, meaning is it turned on or off because of the environment. There's only 5% of these genes that we are not in control of. That's not to say that those kind of conditions can't be healed, because they can. It's just that we aren't in control of whether they're turned on or not. So the beautiful, power, and amazing thing about that is we are in control of 95% of all illness and all disease available to us in the world. And I'm talking common and chronic disease. I'm not talking about things that you catch in third world countries and stuff. I'm talking about common illness and chronic disease. So that is an incredibly powerful and empowering thing to know. I hope you agree. So I had no idea how powerful the human body is in healing itself. So back to this greatest aha moment ever. I got a little suspicious as a teenager, going to the doctors all the time and always being prescribed the same method of treatment. So again, moisturizers, steroid creams, antibiotics. I thought, why do I always leave with a drug? And I started to get very suspicious. On one particular occasion, I'll never forget this. I was sat opposite my doctor, and he just looked over at his computer screen after looking at my skin. And he looked at his computer screen. He said, "Are you allergic to penicillin, type of antibiotics?" And I said, "I don't know." And he gave it to me. And I left the surgery. I walked to the pharmacy and picked up this penicillin. And I was like, why? What? This doesn't feel right. This just doesn't feel right. And I started to get suspicious, even in my mid-teens. Fast forward 20 years' time, I then realized that there's actually a reason why this was an inbuilt expectation, if you will, as to why I always walked away with a drug. So, brief history lesson. It's going to blow your mind, and it's going to empower you. And I think it's one of the most important things that all of us can know. Why doctors and dermatologists are not trained in nutrition. And I should say there, or to heal the body. It's all down to these two chaps, Carnegie and Rockefeller. Carnegie on the left, Rockefeller on the right. They did a lot of things right, but at the same time, I'm afraid they caused some challenges in our current medical system today. Throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s, there were lots of natural approaches to medicine. There were medical herbalists, homeopathic doctors, naturopaths, eclectic herbal type medicines. And then these guys created the Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundation. And their money was very useful for them to create what soon became a monopoly. So they orchestrated a genius way for there to be one way, their way for medicine, introducing the Flexner Report of 1910. What this did was it eliminated all competition to patent petrochemical education. Patent petrochemical basically means the drugs. Drugs, you're probably familiar with drugs in that they all require patents. And once you have a patent, you can then make lots of money from that patent. It's the patent of the combination of the contents of the drugs, shall we say. So a lot of money is to be made from patented drugs. So what does that mean? It meant they had the power to influence the course material taught to doctors. And if you remember at the beginning, I said there are lots of different alternative approaches to medicine. I hate using that word alternative. There were lots of different approaches to medicine, true medicine, which actually helps the body to heal. Prior to 1910, medicine was about helping the body to heal. So this report, the Flexner Report, gave them the power to influence the course material taught to doctors to make it about drugs that they were manufacturing. So donors from the Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundation would sit in the boards of directors of medical schools throughout the US, making sure they steered the material taught to doctors. They actually poured hundreds of millions of dollars into all these medical schools throughout the US. And then all these donors from the Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundation would go and sit on all the boards of medical schools and all the directors, and they started to influence the course material to make sure that their doctors at these medical schools, institutions, universities were teaching education to those doctors and to make it about drugs that they were manufacturing. Carnegie and Rockefeller began to immediately pour hundreds of millions of dollars into these medical schools that were teaching drug-intensive medicine. So basically, when they heard that all the medicine, all the material that taught to doctors was about those drugs, they gave them even more money. And the American Medical Association, who were evaluating the various medical colleges, targeted and shut down the largest respected homeopathic colleges. By 1925, 10,000 herbalists were out of business. By 1940, over 1,500 chiropractors were prosecuted for practicing quackery. That was a new term. That was never around prior to 1940. 22 homeopathic medical schools that flourished in the 1900s dwindled down to just 2 by 1923. By 1950, all schools teaching homeopathy were closed. In the end, if a physician or doctor did not graduate from a Flexner-approved medical school and receive an MD degree, which meant Flexner-approved, then he or she would not find a job anywhere. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why today MDs, doctors, physicians are so heavily biased towards synthetic drug therapy and know very little about nutrition, if anything. Hence the pill for a pill society in which we live. This is why dermatologists know nothing about gut health in healing skin, and every drug, bar none, comes with side effects. Just on dermatologists, about 3 weeks ago, I had a call from a newly qualified doctor in Sydney, 27-year-old woman. And she was just, actually, this is just before she went into hospital for head-to-toe dermatitis. And she told me that she was weeping head to toe. And she had found me online, like many of you do. And she said, after about 30 minutes of forming some rapport and getting to know each other, I actually said to her, wouldn't it be cool if, you know, after I work with you and we help you heal your skin from the inside out, heal your gut, and your skin clears up, wouldn't it be awesome if you just shared this with your community? Because I actually said, did you actually learn anything during your doctor's training on gut health and skin? She said, no, that's not how it works. I actually knew what the answer was going to be because I've done all this research. So after I said, wouldn't it be cool if you shared this with your community? She actually said, no, there's some resistance here. There's a lot of resistance on this kind of treatment protocol. I can't remember exact words, but she said there's resistance. I said, why? I mean, why do you think that is? She said, I don't know. She said, even my dermatologist told me there's no relationship between gut health and skin. And I just kind of paused and went, that's just extraordinary. That's like saying there is no relationship between the engine in the car and your car moving. It is that clear now. There is absolutely no shadow of doubt. It is categoric. There is a 100% link between the health of your gut and your skin. It is everything. So dermatologists, for them to say to her, there is no link, I thought that was extremely, well, irresponsible and harmful. But at the same time, I don't like to blame people because I know of their training. And now if someone says to me, Neil, what are your credentials? Are you a trained doctor? And I say no. And that's why I'm able to help people. Because I haven't gone through medicine, because I haven't gone through the government-backed nutrition protocols, this is how I'm able to help people. There is a solid history behind all of this. And when everyone starts to understand this, it's really, initially, it annoys people. Because it's the truth. In fact, I wrote this quote earlier. Here's the quote. The truth shall set you free, but first it will piss you off. And I shared that on social earlier. Knowing this is going to piss you off. Excuse my French. But just imagine how freeing this is to know. Because it enables us to go, right, the body will heal. It's designed to heal. How can I take the right measures to make it heal? And I find that really empowering because the body is constantly trying to heal. Sorry, not even trying. It is healing all the time. It's constantly rebalancing. I'm kind of doing these actions as I'm talking now. It's constantly trying to be in a state of balance. So all we need to do is step out of the way and allow it to do what it's designed to do. So my life now is, I'd say 90% of the time, I'm eczema free. I showed you a picture earlier. I can't say 100% because occasionally I'll do something that will cause an outbreak if I don't follow my own advice. Maybe I'll drink a few too many beers, and I don't generally ever touch beer because it's got gluten. A, it's got gluten in it. B, it's got estrogen in it. Estrogen, it's just not good. Normally I just have 1 or 2 glasses of red wine, that's fine. Occasionally I might have a bit too much beer or too much alcohol, and it will get an outbreak, and my body will very, very quickly tell me it doesn't like that. So I'm just more mindful about what I put in my body. And there's also an emotional thing as well, and again, the physical, keeping active and stuff. So I go about my day looking sharp. I go on dates with confidence, and I only scratch when I have an itch. So I put that in there because I realized that eczema became a habit as well as this irritation on the skin, and it became a learned habit, meaning I would wake up in the morning and I'd start scratching without even being itchy. So it's a habit. And it becomes an addiction. When we scratch that itch, this is so screwed up, but when we scratch the itch, because it's pleasurable, and I know that you're going to relate to this if you suffer from eczema, because it's pleasurable, it becomes addictive because we get pleasure from scratching the itch. So it becomes this kind of spiral of learned behavior, and the psychology behind it is very, very interesting. But we need to really kind of, if we can train our mind to scratch, then we can train our mind not to scratch at the same time. This is where the awesome neuroscience practice comes in that I've been doing the last 2 months, actually. So how I healed my skin, I obsessively researched the latest science on chronic inflammation. I interviewed doctors, experts, and coaches. I slowly stacked one effective skin clearing action after the other until I had a full system. And I stuck with it for the most part. So for the past hour, I hope you found this valuable. Would you agree it's been time well spent so far? Has this given you a new perspective on what eczema really is? And as you might imagine, I can't cover everything you need in an hour-long webinar. So I do have a special opportunity so you can get everything you need to know. And this is called the Eczema Solution. Some of you have already had access to this. And there's 3 parts to it really. There's the Clear Skin in 7, which is a 7-day course, which enables you to take action straight away. And then there's the full in-depth inflammation, or rather eczema solution, which is 6 weeks, helping you to heal your skin from the inside out. And then I have group coaching and private coaching. So what I talk about here is the mindset. So understanding the power of our emotions and stress, really understanding how to reframe stress, because a lot of us don't realize that stress is also a learned behavior. And stress is really an internal response to external strains. I'm saying this too fast. There's a lot of information to take on here. And I don't want to overload you because I've given a lot of information here. So I just want to say this one thing, because we are not told this in conventional society. We don't, unless you do some kind of transformational work or psychology training, we're not aware that we are in control of our own emotions. So we don't understand that stress is actually an internal response to external circumstances. The simplest way of looking at this is you could have 2 people in a traffic jam. One person could be totally irate, effing and blinding, road rage, late for work, whereas the other person, who might also be late for work, is just totally calm, chilled, and just taking it easy. That really goes to show that it's the internal response to the external circumstance that changes things. We all have a choice to change our perception of what is happening all around us all the time. So this is what I help people with and I must be open with you, and it's more involved when I work one-on-one or with group coaching. And also addictions, I mentioned that earlier, so I won't repeat it. And then there's the physical, which is nutrition and physical activity. So the food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. That's Anne Wigmore. I love that. It's so true. It's so powerful. We've all heard it. We are what we eat. Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine and let thy medicine be thy food. It's not new. It's been around for centuries. So we need to, way longer than that. It's been around for thousands of years, since the beginning of time. But, these quotes are fairly new. So we need to address what we're putting in our bodies. And so the physical is really nutrition and being active, getting the immune system working. And then the final bit is the environment, really understanding where external toxins might be coming from. I've used the example there of the pesticides. These are guys spraying pesticides. They're covered in full head to toe biological protective gear to protect their skin from these chemicals that they're spraying on the vegetation that we're then to eat. I mean, it's crazy what's going on out there. So with eczema, we need to understand where the toxins might be coming from. Remembering the skin is the first indication of imbalance. So then we just need to ask ourselves the question, where are the toxins coming from? And this is what I'll help you with private or group coaching. So testimonials, I was recently getting really bad flare-ups. 5 days after doing this, my skin changed. It got smooth. It got its smooth feeling back. My eczema has literally disappeared. His name is Daniel. This is actually a YouTube comment shortly after he started my program. Edwin's results, he was on the left. That he sent me that before I started working with him. And 7 days after I started working with him, he sent me the picture on the top right-hand corner. And then 6 weeks, he sent me the one on the bottom right. Almost gone. It's not completely gone, but it's almost gone. He did have a few, what's the word? He didn't practice consistently during the 6 weeks. I think had he done that, it would be completely healed, because it can heal so fast. The gut heals fast, skin heals fast. We just need to give it what it needs. This one I love. My mindset is different. The way I look at food is different. The quality of my life with my children has greatly improved. For me, it was life-saving and the best thing I've ever done. I highly recommend this program. This was Mark Rayworth. Brilliant, brilliant client. He was a client. He's still alive. So a quick reminder is your body's ability to heal is greater than anyone has allowed you to believe. And I want you to go away. If there's nothing you remember from this webinar, I want you to remember this one thing. Your body is designed to heal. It's always trying to heal. It will heal. So always remember that. And also remember everything, hopefully, but also remember the history of the industry, because that's why we're constantly given these symptom addressing things. So the eczema solution is a way for you to bridge the gap and really help you to heal your skin from within. I'd like to invite you now to book your strategy call. That I've talked about different options of working with me. They have different prices, different investments. I don't even like talking about prices. They're investments because you get a return on them. And obviously the best results tend to happen with people who I work with privately. Although group coaching works very well as well, because the community supports one another. So I'd like to invite you to book a call on that, preferably that link above, or you can email at neil@vitalitysecretbook.com. Oh, one final slide. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for all you're doing, as eczema, allergies, hay fever, etc., which often accompany it, can really destroy confidence and make people's lives unbearable. Lots of love to you. She's actually from someone from YouTube. I have a lot of beautiful comments on YouTube, actually. I love it. So thank you for watching. I'm going to leave us with this one. And if anyone has any questions, I'm going to open up the question forum now, and happy to hear from you. So I'm going to unmute you and see what questions you have.